In this video, we're going to be looking at the process of creating a time submission using the assignment tool on the DLE. We're going to look at all the aspects involved in creating an assignment, but we're going to pay particular attention to a few of the differences that we need to do when we're using the assignment tool to run one of these time submissions. So you can see here I'm on my Teaching from Distance Panopto page. This is just a normal DLE course page, and you can see that I've got it structured in the collapsed topics setting, and I've got a Wednesday, Thursday and Friday lecture sections. I've got a section 4 and I've got a final section for resources. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is turn my editing on, and that is done by clicking on the white cog and selecting the second option, which is turn editing on. This takes a second and then it reloads the page in editor mode, so I'm able to kind of make changes to the course, I'm able to add resources, I'm able to create and add activities. And another thing I can do is also rename these sections. So here where we've got section 4, I'm going to click on that pen tool and I'm going to call that timed submission, and then I'm going to press the enter key, and you can see that it's now named that category timed submission. So this is really good for giving our students that kind of easy navigational pointer as to where their time submission or their assignment is going to appear, and it's just a nice little kind of added extra that we can do to help our students in this difficult time. Once we're happy we've got this set up, we can see that in our sections we've got the add an activity or resource, and if I come down to the time submission section and click add an activity or resource, I'm presented with a list of activities and resources that I can add to the page, and the first one we see in our list of activities is the assignment. So I'm going to click on assignment. You can see that the dot appears in the circle and the blue add button appears at the bottom of the page, and if I click that, this will take us to our assignment creation tool. So this page takes a second to load before we can start kind of editing it, so we'll just wait for that to happen. And you can see now, once everything's loaded, we're ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is going to give the assignment a title. So I'm just going to call this time submission, but you may want to give it a more kind of accurate name. And in the description I'm just going to type some example text, but this will be where you'll want to give as much information to your students as possible about what's expected of them in the submission itself. For a traditional coursework submission, we always advise that you click the display description so that this description shows on that main course page. Because we're using this time submission in lieu of an exam, I'm going to recommend that we don't turn that on, and so we're holding all that information internal to the assignment itself. And now, because they're not going to be able to access the any information or the assignment itself until our 48-hour window, this means that we're not giving anyone an unfair advantage because they've been able to come onto the course before the assignment is due to start. So our next section here is the additional files. So again, in terms of a traditional assignment, this would be where we could put on assignment brief or any resources around the assignment that we want our students to be able to access. In the situation where we're creating a timed submission in lieu of an exam, what we might want to do here is, if you've created a document that you want your students to fill in, you'll want to place the document in here, and this will be where they're able to access and download that document from. So this file section can work as a drag and drop. So if I drag a document from my desktop onto it, if I was to release this now, it would upload that file, but I can also click on the file icon and I get a file picker, and you can see that I can upload the file from my computer, or if I've got my OneDrive or the document on my OneDrive, I can sign into my OneDrive and pick it from there. For this example, I'm just going to pick a random file from my desktop. So we click on choose file and it opens that kind of Finder window in Windows, and I'm just going to select that top document. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to click upload this file, and you can see very quickly that file's there available, or will be made available to our students when they access the assignment. The next section is the availability. So this will be when the assignment is visible, when it's actionable, and when the closing dates are. You can see that we've got allow submissions from, and that will be, if you're doing a timed submission in lieu of an exam, that will be your exam release date. The due date, again, with the timed submissions, that will be 48 hours after the release date. The cut-off date, which you can see is greyed out currently, we'll be setting that to match that due date. So as soon as that closing time arrives for the assignment, your students will no longer be able to make a submission. And then the final options is grade and feedback release date. So this one is a reminder to you. It appear in your calendar in Moodle to tell you that you've got X amount of days left before you're due to give feedback for this assignment. So we're going to uncheck that one, but we're going to check enable because we want to set the cutoff date. So normally, as a rule with a traditional coursework assignment, we don't set a cutoff date, and that allows our students to submit late. But in this instance, we don't want them to be able to submit beyond that 48-hour window, so we're choosing to enable this. So first thing we need to do is we need to set the allow submissions from, and I'm going to set this for this example on May the 1st at 2 in the afternoon, and I want the due date to be 48 hours after that, so that we're going to set that for the 3rd of May again at 2 p.m. and then, as I've said before, we're going to make sure that this cut-off date matches that due date. So there we are, setting it again to 2 p.m. And that just means that we've got control of when our students are going to be able to see and access the assignment. The next thing we come to is submission types. So we're going to be using a file submission in our timed submission. We do have the option to do media submissions. We're saying currently, if you want to do a video submission during the COVID-19 crisis, that we have a different system in place. So we're urging you to contact Digital Education, and then we can advise you from there. But in this situation, we're just going to have a file submission, so we want our students to download this file, fill it in, and then re-upload it to Moodle. So because we know there's going to be one file, we can set this maximum number of files to 1. We can choose if we want to limit the file size, but we're going to leave it at 150 megs in this example. We've got the option to accept file types or accepted file types. So this is the file types or the file extensions that Moodle will allow to be uploaded as a submission for this assignment. So by default, it's open to all types of file, but if you want to limit the types of file, so in this case, if we're letting them download a Word document, we can have them just save that and re-upload that. So we can click on choose. It's going to present us with a list of all the accepted file types possible, and we're going to look for our document files. We're going to expand that, and then I'm just going to select both the Word document options, and then I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to save changes. And that just means that should a student try to upload a Pages file or a PDF file, it won't allow them to upload that. It will only allow files with the extension docx or doc to be uploaded. The final option in this is word limit. This refers to online text, and that is why it's greyed out. It won't have any effect on the number of words that they've got in a document that they upload. Our next section is feedback types, and so we tend to leave all of these on, and that just gives you that kind of freedom to mark the work how you want. If you want to do it through comments, you can. If you want to upload individual files to individual students, you can. Or if you want to mark en masse with an offline grading worksheet, you can. Submission settings are default settings that are set at a administration level, and it's stuff like the kind of declaration that your student has to agree to before they can upload their work, etc. Group submissions. If you're doing a group submission, we've got loads of help resources under the help and staff help settings around each submission. So do have a look at those. If anything's not clear, again, contact Digital Education and we can help you through the process of setting up some group submissions. Notifications. My advice would be to leave these as they are. So the no setting for these first two means that you're not going to receive emails every time a student submits a piece of work, and you're not going to receive any emails when a student submits the work late. In these time submission conditions, students aren't going to be able to submit late, so there wouldn't be the case to generate emails anyway. The default setting to notify students is set to yes by default. This is largely going to refer to you in your marking process, and it won't be until you've revealed student identity, and at that point you're in the process of releasing the grades to the students anyway. So it's on by default. If you choose to, you can turn it off at that individual level when you come to the marking side of stuff. Turnitin originality checking is set to be enabled. We're recommending that you leave this on. This allows students to see a originality report when they upload their work, but it also allows you access to Turnitin's Feedback Studio. So if you've got experience of marking through Turnitin Feedback Studio, this needs to be enabled so that you get access to mark this submission in that way. The grading is out of 100, so we'll tend to leave that the same unless you've got a specific reason to change that, or depending on how you're setting up the assignment, if you've been told to change that, you can change that or there. If you want some more detailed information on that, please do contact Digital Education. The final two areas we're going to look at are common module settings and restrict access. So if we come into the common module settings, because this is my course for helping deliver training on Panopto, it's not linked to Unity like your module page would be. So I don't have the option to open this up and select from a list of elements that are on my Unity page. What you will see here is a little downward arrow, and if you click on that, any element that's on your Unity page, or the Unity page related to the course, whether it be coursework, a test or an exam, will be visible here. So we tend to, with assignments, we would use a C element, which is a coursework element, and that would be how we would push the grades across to Unity. If you're using this for a timed submission in lieu of an exam, you'll be probably looking to link it to an E element. And we have produced a separate video on how and when you should link to the E element. So the final category we want to look at is the restrict access, and what we're going to do here is we're going to use a few date restrictions to lock down the assignment that little bit further. So anytime the student comes onto the page outside of this 48-hour window that we're going to create, the assignment won't be accessible. It's only going to be clickable and accessible in the 48-hour window that we've set up above. So we're going to do that by clicking add a restriction and clicking date, and you can see this is the date from. So from the 1st of May at 2, we want the assignment to be visible, and then we're going to add a second restriction, and again we're going to choose date, but this time we're going to say until, and we're going to put the 3rd, and then we're going to make sure that we click May, and then again 2 o'clock, and then this is going to be the 48-hour window we've spoken of. If I hover over the eye here, you can see that it's going to display, but it's going to be greyed out if the user does not meet this condition. So that means the student will be able to see that there's an assignment there, they're just not going to be able to engage with it. What we could do if we wanted to was click on the eye to cross it out, and then the assignment outside of this 48-hour window wouldn't show to our students. But given the situation that we're in, and the transparency that we want. We want them to be able to see it, so if they come onto the course early, they know where they're going to have to come and have to find it on May the 1st at 2, so they can see where it's going to be, and then come 2 o'clock on May the 1st they can go straight there and begin work. So if we're happy with everything, we click on Save and Return Course, and we're taken back to our Moodle page, and now there is an assignment there, and we get a little kind of staff overview or a lecturer overview where we can see it. We can click on it to take it to our summary page, and we can see that this is currently restricted and not available unless it is after May the 1st but before May the 3rd 2 p.m. So just to quickly show you what that looks like for our students, and you can see if I open that timed submission, when the page loads, I can see that there's a timed submission there, and it's restricted until it becomes available at 2 p.m. on May the 1st, and I can't click on it. So again, that's stopping me going in and getting a little head start on anything. I can't see what the exam's about. I can't access that document that we've attached to it until we get to that May the 1st at 2 p.m. time.